Jiri Prochazka versus Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill goes down January 18th in Los Angeles, California, 2025. Just got announced last Saturday. And I just wanted to talk about this matchup in this video. But I think what I really want to discuss or focus on, like the topic of this entire video, is not just like the matchup in itself or like a breakdown and a prediction, but more so just how I feel about the fight. Because obviously, Jiri Prochazka versus Jamahal Hill, that's a big fight. I mean, honestly, this fight would have been a bigger fight when Jamahal Hill was the champion, when he beat Glover, and Yuri's first fight back for the title was supposed to be for Jamahal Hill's belt, but then Hill, just like Jiri, of course, got injured, had to vacate, just like what happened to Jiri, and then Jiri had to fight Alex Poatan Pereira and lose to him, not once, but twice. And then, of course, Jamahal Hill, in his comeback fight, same scenario. Comes back to get starched by Alex Poatan Pereira. So both guys are pretty much in the same boat. But I do wish this fight would have happened. Like, I do wish Jamal didn't tear his Achilles. Should have stayed off the basketball court in July 2023. And this fight would have happened probably UFC 295. And I definitely think it would have had a lot more anticipation when Jiri was on that win streak, was undefeated in the UFC, and when Paul Craig was like the only man to defeat Jamahal Hill, which we know was an absolute fluke. Um, but my feelings towards this fight now, I mean, I would have felt the same if it happened under title fight circumstances because I am a huge fan of both, but now that both guys are coming off losses to Alex Pereira, I mean, both guys literally beat Glover Teixeira for the belt, come back to lose to Pereira. Happened to Jiri, and the exact same thing happened to Jamahal Hill. I'm just waiting for the other screen to load. This thing is just so stupid and slow. But yeah, same thing. Beats Glover, comes back, loses to Alex Pereira in like the next fight, which is super annoying. As a massive fan of both guys, it just sucks to see not just them losing to Alex, but seeing them accomplish what I want to see them accomplish. Getting to witness them become world champions. Just to see them lose it from an injury. They don't even get a chance to defend their belts. They don't get a chance to even put their titles on the line, you know? That would have been cool to see. It was frustrating to see them just kind of lose their belts the way they did and have their championship legacy basically be void and non-existent. You know what I mean? They're basically like background characters in Alex Pereira's story. If either one of them would have like lost their belts to Alex instead of coming back and failing to get it back from Alex, I would feel a little bit less bad about their losses to Alex Pereira, but again, massive fan of both Jiri Prochazka and Jamahal Hill. And this fight, because of how much I love both, this fight has me feeling super conflicted because I don't want to see either guy lose. And neither man can really afford a loss. Like, I'm being serious. One of them needs to get back in the win column. And whoever loses this fight is going to be kind of done. Especially, I don't know who's going to be done worse if they lose. If Jamal loses, right now he's getting so much hate from, the general MMA fan base, which I get. Jamal hasn't been the most likable personality, and there's a lot of, Pereira fanboys, and they don't like to see Jamahal Hill still running his mouth about Alex Pereira and coping about that loss. It's annoying to people. I understand. But because of that, if Jamal is to lose to Jiri Prochazka, that's two losses in a row, and then he will just further go down as an absolute joke and a clown and a laughing stock. So I feel like for that reason, he needs to get this win. And another reason why Jamal needs to win this fight as badly as he does is because Jamahal Hill gets literally no credit for his title win or for being a former champion. Like, people, when Jamahal Hill first won the title, people were calling him a paper champion, a placeholder until Jiri were to come back. Everyone was saying that Jamahal Hill is not the real champion and that he only became champ because he fought an old, washed up, war torn Glover. So it's not an impressive win. So therefore, him becoming champ is invalid, and Jamahal Hill is just a can who Pereira crushed. Pereira did crush him. I don't think he's a can. But most people act like Jamahal Hill is a bum when he's clearly not. So if Jamahal Hill is to lose to like another champion that he faces, like Jiri Prochazka, I mean, I know he beat one former champion in Glover, but I mean, say he fights a former champion in their prime and loses. He goes from losing to Alex and Jiri back to back. I feel like the claims that these fans are making against Jamahal being a terrible fighter and being a fake champ and having his former champ status being invalid, I feel like what they're saying will be further validated if Jamahal loses. And as a fan of Hill, I don't want to see that. I would like to see Jamahal shut people up and get a win over another former champion, beat the guy who everyone literally said was the real champion when he had to vacate and when people were calling Hill a placeholder. I would like for Jamahal to go out there, beat Jiri, and prove that all this time he could have been champion if he had to fight Jiri for the belt, or he could have defended his belt from Jiri if he didn't get injured. I want him to kill that narrative, although even if he wins, fans are just going to cope and say, well, you just beat a Jiri who got washed up by Alex Pereira from that head kick, and from all the damage he took, so it's not the same Jiri. They'll find a way to move the goalpost. But then, let's talk about why it's also important Jiri needs to win, okay? First and foremost, I'm just going to say this. Even though currently these two are like my favorite light heavyweights, before, back in the day, it was John Jones, Daniel Cormier, and Anthony Rumble Johnson. Rest in peace, brother. But now that Cormier's retired, John Jones is a heavyweight and Rumble is 6 feet under, unfortunately. My two favorite in the division are Jamahal, unironically the unlikable, and Jiri Prochazka, one of the biggest fan favorites and most beloved fighters in the UFC right now, right? Yeah, so he right now is my number one favorite light heavyweight, Jiri. Number two is Jamahal Hill. And every time Jiri fights, I root for him. Every time he fights, I want him to get a win. But in Jiri's case, if he loses, he's going to be 1-2 in his last 3 fights. 1-3 in his last 4, basically. A loss to Alex, and again, 1 win over Rakic and a loss to Jamahal Hill. And right now, a lot of people are saying that this could be the end of Prochazka's career. They're saying that he may never be the same after getting brutally knocked out twice in the same fight by Alex, getting knocked out at the end of round 1, basically, which he did get knocked out. He was basically gone. His eyes were gone. And he barely recovered from that left hook and then comes back to get starched by the head kick after in a late stoppage. I do worry that the way he lost that fight to Alex in the second fight, I do worry that could have, 1, diminished his confidence, and 2, ruined him physically. Because, okay, the first fight doesn't really matter because that was an early stoppage and Jiri was winning that fight. He had so much success against Alex. Which that was a confidence booster for Jiri. The fact that he did so well against Poatan and he did come close to beating him and was hurting him in the second round before, getting overzealous and caught, and then Goddard called it early. There was the narrative, okay, it was an early stoppage, he was doing well, and that gave Jiri confidence going into the Rakic fight, and he had that aura about him that he always had pre-Alex, the first fight, and he overwhelmed, melted, and destroyed Rakic. But I worry that we may not see that same confident and dangerous Jiri going into this fight, and I worry his chin might be gone. And I feel like if Jiri does lose this fight, especially if he gets knocked out again by Jamahal Hill, he might be done. He might be done. If Jamahal loses, he's done in the sense of, yeah, whatever, he's trash according to the fans, and he was never that good, and I mean, Jamahal Hill will still be a good contender who will stick around, who will still beat some up-and-coming guys in the division, but I guess not win at a championship level. But I guess, yeah, maybe it will be worse. Actually, you know what? Yes, it's going to be worse if Jiri Prochazka loses. It's going to be worse in his case. because then he just might be done, and that would suck because Jiri Prochazka is such a talented fighter, and I feel like he had unfinished business as a champion. And the fact that he never got a chance to get that belt back, and for his story to end on two knockout losses to Alex and then a knockout loss to Jiri, that would just be sad. And as a fan of Jiri, I would just hate to watch that. I do not want to see Jiri lose two fights in a row. I don't want to see him get stopped again. And I would like to see him bounce back. But then on the flip side, it might be better for the division if Jamahal wins because he hasn't lost twice to Alex yet. So you could potentially sell a second Alex fight, right? They could do a rematch if Jamahal Hill wins. I know if he wins, he's going to call for a rematch with Alex Pereira. He'll call for the winner of Ankalaev Pereira, but I mean, he says he'll fight Pereira even if he loses the belt to Ankh. If Jiri wins, I mean, he's not getting a title shot as long as Pereira is the champ because he's down two. But yeah, this fight's tough for me. This is why I wish the fight happened when Jamahal was champion, because even though, again, I would still be a fan of both going in, and my main focus in rooting for Jiri would not just be him bouncing back from a loss, or even in Hill's case, it would just be I want him to get his belt back, right? But it wouldn't be a thing of, oh, Jiri needs to redeem himself. He needs to prove he's not done. It wouldn't be a thing of that if it would have happened last year. And in Jamahal's case too, at the time he was the champion. He was on a win streak. The only guy that beat him was Paul Craig. So it's gonna be tough to watch, man. I think either way I'm gonna be sad, no matter what the outcome of this fight is. I'll definitely be more sad if Jiri loses again. I mean, if Jamahal loses again, it's gonna suck. From a perspective, from a Hill fan's perspective, it's gonna suck just because of how he's treated by the fan base, and I just want him to prove these guys wrong. And I know if he loses, he's proving them right. But I know if Jiri loses, his career might be cooked. So I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Who are you rooting for, Jiri Prochazka or Jamahal Hill? Who do you guys think will win? Like and subscribe, turn the notification bell, and peace out.